6 inmates are missing from Western Penitentiary. Police say they made a daring daylight prison break.
This doesn't happen in Western. It just can't happen.
Nuno Pontes was respected. There was an aura around him because of his high IQ.
This is a true story. It's a dramatized account based on the escapee's own recollections in letters, phone calls, and meetings.
Every security system has a flaw. And prisons are no exception.
Western Penn was the whole of the state, pretty much. As far as the inmates that we got there, I mean, it was known as a hardcore. The nickname was the Wall. It was because of the Wall, but it was also because of its reputation as being a hardcore penitentiary.
My name's Nuno Pontes. In 1992, I was sentenced to 10 to 24 years for robbery and a prior escape attempt.
One coming in?
First day, the guard said to me, "What do you want to achieve here at Western Penitentiary?" I said, "I want to escape." They all laughed. I wasn't laughing.
For a prisoner to escape from Western Penitentiary, it'd have to come up with a pretty ingenious plan, because it was a maximum security institution, had a 40-foot wall surrounding the entire prison.
In here, having to kill somebody or being killed myself was a good bet. I had to get out. Now, I was convicted of cracking safes and other robberies. I got no excuses. I'm an educated middle-class screw-up. My two co-defendants ratted me out and got just 5 years each. I kept my mouth shut, and I got 10 to 24 years. First con I got to know would later escape with me from Western Penn. Tom Birkelbaugh warned me that the biggest enemy in prison wasn't violent inmates. It was the routine.
I think the routine just deadens your mind and senses to where you're like functioning more like an automaton, just waking up and going to bed.
The way I saw it, any inmate who wasn't looking for a way out was being crushed by the system. I was determined not to let the boredom crush me. I set myself a task of learning something new about the prison every single day for 3 years.
They ring a bell 7 o'clock in the morning, and they start letting you out to breakfast. If you have a job, you have to be there, say, at 8:30.
My job was as a clerk in the prison industries. The building was based at the northern end of the facility, close to the perimeter wall. It contained all the services for the prison: the metal shop, the laundry, the maintenance office where I worked.
You work until you either go in for con about 10:30, or you're counted on the job.
I was supervised at work by civilian workers, right? Not prison guards. I'd earned their trust, so they let me handle tools.
Then you're let back out at around 11:30, 12 o'clock to eat.
Lunchtime was good for getting to know guys. I was looking for anyone that would be useful towards the escape.
Then you go back to your cell for 4 to 4 con.
Back in my cell, I could really concentrate. I'd draw imaginary plans of what I'd learned about the prison that day.
You get back out about 4:30, and then you hang around the yard.
I spent yard time trying to work out prison guards' routines, timings, distances, habits. On the wall, in the yard, near the gates, I was creating my own prison blueprint.
And then you lock up at 20 to 9. And then you start the whole thing over again the next day.
After doing the same thing over and over every day for 3 long years, I had a mental hard drive of information about Western Penn. I mean, I knew it, inside and out. What I needed to find was one fatal weakness to exploit. And then one morning, a throwaway comment from an engineer led me to it.
Push the pipes up in the upper areas of the place.
He told me the prison industries block where I worked had an underground crawl space, like a cellar. The door to this crawl space was just yards away from the maintenance office. How could I miss that? This was the breakthrough I'd been waiting for. I realized if I could get into that crawl space, I'd be hidden from view and already underground. Maybe I could tunnel out of the crawl space, under the prison wall, and come up inside of a prison supply warehouse that was on the other side. But there was a problem. To get into the crawl space door, I needed to get the key to the padlock. I started watching the guard inspections at the crawl space. And I noticed that when a guard came out, the key he used most recently was right there on the top of the pile on his ring. Somehow, I needed to steal this key. How do you steal a key from a guard in a maximum security prison? I started racking my brains. I became obsessed. And then I noticed my teeth marks on the coffee cup. This gave me an idea. Maybe I didn't need to actually steal the key. I only needed to touch that key for long enough to make an impression on a piece of styrofoam. Great thing about prison, the guards have a routine, just like us. A week later, like clockwork, the guard came out of the basement, and I got two guys to get in his face when he came out.
Lights now, man. Why don't you do anything about it? What do you say?
It's amazing what a pack of smokes can buy you in prison.
I don't care about this. You guys are just the warden black.
While the guard was distracted, I got the piece of torn up coffee cup ready in my hand, and I moved in.
Watch who you're talking to. I'm just back. Better down. No, I'm not. I know.
Think about it. Everyone was moving around. I couldn't look down at what I was doing, and I couldn't let him feel me touch the key. When I finally got hold of it, I had no idea if it was working or not. I was so focused on the key, I'd forgotten to check if other guards were watching. I looked down at the styrofoam. There was a clear impression of the guard's key there. This was my first small victory. But I realized I couldn't do this on my own. I needed a team. I conducted my own interview process. The cons didn't even know I was doing it. I was looking for cons who had skills to offer and, more importantly, who I could trust. I got down to a short list of 5. Carmen Keller, a convicted killer. His job was delivering security passes, which meant he could move freely around the prison. George Conard, a convicted killer. He worked in the metal shop, so he had access to raw brass. Andy Heim, thief who could hotwire cars. I'd need him on the outside. And Kevin Billingsley, convicted of robbery and assault. He'd worked as a miner, and he knew how to cut a key. And finally, I got my friend, Tom Berkelbaugh, on board. We were the Pittsburgh Six. A few days later, Billingsley slipped me a homemade copy of that guard's key. I got the crawlspace key into prison industries, but the most dangerous challenge lay ahead. In broad daylight, right under the noses of the prison guards, I had to test out this fake key without getting caught. I waited till most people were at chow around midday. I left the maintenance office and headed towards the crawlspace, just yards away. This was risky. I mean, I had no possible reason to be messing with this padlock. The person most likely to spot me was the guard on the wall. The perimeter wall overlooked the entire prison industries section, including the outside of the maintenance office and the door to the crawlspace. But the guard's only clear sight of the crawlspace door was from the tower. You'd have to leave the tower to patrol the end of the walkway and back, which took him 17 seconds. I had 17 seconds to get to the door, test the key, and get out. I slipped into the doorway. I remember starting to count in my head. I couldn't even get the key in the lock.
This is a dramatized account of a prison break based on letters and meetings with escape mastermind Nuno Pontes. Critical to his plan, he must unlock a door with a fake key.
I remember thinking, I can't give up. The key was jamming. I felt sick. I thought, I'm out of time. Then it opened. Couldn't believe it. I locked it up again. The time was up. I got out. And there I am thinking, I just unlocked the door to freedom. I got Keller to fine-tune the key while I plotted my next move. Crucially, the fake key worked, and I'd crack. As long as I stuck to that routine, I could get in and out of that crawl space undetected. Now I needed to know if we could tunnel out of there. And there was another problem. I couldn't go in there and leave the padlock unlocked. Someone would see it. I met two of the team outside the crawlspace door at chow time. Kevin Billingsley was an ex-miner, and I wanted him down there for his engineering know-how. Because Carmen Keller was a runner, he could move freely in the prison. His job that day was to lock us in. As soon as it looked all clear, we went for it. Keller would have to come back in 2 hours to let us out again. We walked down steps into the underground crawl space. We found hard hats and flashlights, tools left by workers. Straight away, I saw the floor of the underground crawl space is solid concrete. We would never bust through that. I was thinking the plan's already dead when I spotted the wall at the far end. I figured if we could break through this interior wall, we could start tunneling out, down below the perimeter prison wall, then up into a prison supplies warehouse on the other side. But first, we had to break through the wall. Surely someone will hear us up above. We just had to risk it. Every hammer blow sounded like a clap of thunder. You know, I'm thinking the guards will be down here any minute. Finally, the bricks came free. We could see the soil on the other side. My heart was pumping wildly. We were starting to tunnel out of the prison. We got the hell out of there as quickly as we could, just in case we'd been heard. From that point on, we worked out a pattern of digging around the prison routine. I could only go missing from the maintenance office at lunch, but Keller and Billingsley's jobs meant they were always on the move. So as long as they got their work done, no one seemed to miss them. They had about 3 hours after lunch to dig. They'd get maybe 2 or 3 feet dug in this time, then clean up. I'd let them out about 3:15. And plenty of time for the 3:45 head count. We started taking more risks, lifting tools from the office and timing our movements to the minute to maximize digging time. I really dreaded a collapse. I mean, we were digging through dirt. We didn't have the proper supports you'd need to build a tunnel. All I could do was pray that Billingsley knew what he was doing. I thought about nothing else but the tunnel. It becomes your life. Within 4 weeks, we dug under the prison wall, and we were ready to tunnel towards the warehouse. I estimated we were about 4 weeks away from Breakout. One lunchtime, I'd locked the guys in as usual, then headed to the recreation hall. And suddenly, the whistle sounded for lockdown. Straight away, I thought, that's it. They found the tunnel.
The whistle would let everybody in the institution know that there's something happened and there's going to be a lockdown. The inmates would immediately report back to their cells, and the officers would monitor them so that they could be locked in. And you would do a master count at that time. If you had some people missing, then you would start into your emergency procedures for an escape.
Straight away, we were escorted from the prison industries, across the yard, towards the cell blocks. I felt sick. If the tunnel had been discovered, it was all over. Then I heard there'd been a stabbing in one of the blocks. That's when I knew that they hadn't found the tunnel. Suddenly, I realized if I don't get back to unlock Billingsley and Keller, they'll be missing for the count. I have to set off in the wrong direction towards the crawl space. I got 15 feet from the door when a guard stopped me.
There's a computer problem running on. I got orders.
I told him I had to go and shut down a computer, but he got distracted, so I kept going.
Lockdown! Get out of here! Let's go! Come on!
I screamed at the guys to get out.
Come on! Get out of this!
There wasn't any time to get cleaned up.
Fast! We have 1 minute. Let's get out of here. Let's go! Come on!
We turned the corner. Right there in front of us was a guard. It's like he could tell something wasn't right. As we walked past, I heard his radio crackle. I thought, this is it. We're caught. Escape's over. I was sure he was calling for backup. I held my breath. But then nothing. We got away with it this time. But we'd really pushed our luck. We needed to hurry on and get this tunnel dug. We dug about 30 to 40 feet now. We had to be close to that warehouse. It was so hot I almost passed out several times. Soil kept falling. I could be buried alive at any second. At last I hit concrete. Above us was the prison supplies warehouse and the door to freedom. My plan was to wait for the warehouse to close, then drill holes in the concrete to weaken it. I'd stolen a drill. I knew it'd be missed, but it was now or never. I mean, we had to break through. It was like a dam had burst. I could breathe the air of the outside world. I could feel the coolness of it and smell it. I drilled several more holes, and finally I forced out a hole big enough to squeeze through. And that was it. It was on. We were going the next morning. I didn't sleep at all that night. I got the shakes. I shook solid for 45 minutes. I kept getting this recurring image of a guard firing at us, and then the tunnel collapsing. I kept thinking, what if my plan goes wrong? I run through it all again. If we make it through the tunnel, we then have to get out of the prison supplies warehouse without being seen by staff. Next, we exit into the courtyard, overlooked by a guard tower. We have to walk 30 feet past the guard tower to an exit door here, unnoticed. It was the longest night of my life. It was a relief when the morning came, when we met in the crawl space early. The warehouse up above us was still locked and alarmed. When it opened for that day, that was our cue to go. We heard the rolling doors opening in the warehouse, and that was it. Kevin Billingsley went first. I went last, right behind Tom.
Now, to get through the tunnel, in most places, we had to stretch our arms all the way out and actually push with the toes and pull with the fingers. I was holding my head up, trying to see as much as I can, and I'm trying to squeeze through, but I was in excruciating pain and almost went into shock from the pain. It started to get desperate because we wanted to get out of there as fast as we could.
I could feel the soil tumbling down on top of me. There was water pouring in. I felt the whole thing could come down on me at any second. And no one knew we were here.
Six highly dangerous prisoners are attempting to escape from Western Penitentiary in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. After 12 weeks, they've tunneled under the perimeter wall.
I came out of the tunnel. I could smell the greasy floor. Nothing ever smelled sweeter. Now all we had to do was cross the courtyard, and we were free.
This is it, right? You guys ready?
I pulled hard on the door. It opened. And I looked out. All clear. Then, near the tower, I saw a guard. He was looking right down at me. My mind was racing. I didn't know what to do. I nodded. He nodded back.
There's a guard with the gun, all right? All right. Just relax. There's a guard. All right, relax. I got this.
I told the guys to keep their helmets on. We're gonna walk out as if we're construction workers. Like we're meant to be there. We couldn't go back now.
Nobody look up at that guard. Just getting out of here. We're leaving for the day, all right?
I took the lead with the blueprints, and they followed.
Let's go.
whole time I'm walking, I'm waiting for the guard to shout, to radio for backup, to shoot.
We can get this section.
Then the prison alarm went off. My heart almost exploded. Yet, I felt we still had a chance, so long as I could open this door. I pictured armed guards gathered out front.
Sit down now! Sit down! Do it!
Place my hand on the handle. No guards, no cops, no guns. The alarm couldn't have been for us.
The excitement level was almost indescribable. It was like, you know, being reborn. We stepped out into fresh air, a nice, bright, sunny day. We're really free now. We're out.
Andy Heim did his job and hotwired a Pontiac. I took what I hoped was one last look at Western Penn.
Six inmates are missing from Western Penitentiary. Police say they made a daring daylight prison break, somehow digging a tunnel from the inside to the outside. Until the inmates are found, Western Penitentiary is under a lockdown.
I got something here.
In 1997, I was one of 6 troopers working the Pennsylvania State Police Fugitive Apprehension Unit. When the news broke over the police radios, we all heard it and lit up. Here, we had a maximum security prison and a breakout, not of 1, but of 6, a half dozen inmates. If that doesn't get the attention of the police authorities and the immediate public, what does?
The 6 men broke out of the maximum security facility by digging a 30-foot long tunnel.
Next, I needed to see firsthand the tunnel. When I went through this tunnel, it was mucky, it was damp, and it smelled. Maybe it was their perspiration that they left behind. They had a goal in mind. That was the light at the end of the tunnel, right? That was the freedom. And it was my job to take that away from them.
The inmates have been on the outside for many hours now, and although police continue to search actively for them,
Nuno decided that if we were all going to stick together like this, we needed a bigger cart. Before we went into Indiana, we stole a van, which was a lot roomier. We took that there and we kept changing plates.
police believe the inmates stole their getaway car from a parking lot next to the prison.
On day 2, the stolen car was recovered.
It's an '89 Pontiac Bronze Bonneville, and the left rear window was broken out.
That's a big break. That's goosebumps. They stole a van. That in itself said that they're together. That's a direction of flight.
When we got into Oklahoma, Kevin made a phone call to this one guy, Travis, in Texas that he happened to know. Travis said that he could get us some clean papers. And then we could have went over into Mexico.
Nuno Pontes spoke Spanish. Is he going to go up to Quebec? I doubt it. Is he going to go down to Mexico? So they fled south, and the investigation went south.
We got to a hotel in Houston, Texas, where we had to sit tight and wait for Billingsley's contact to come up with the fake IDs. Our connections made sure we'd have money and guns to deal with any problems. We'd kill time by getting some beers in and partying.
We're at a low point. There's nothing breaking.
Pontus, Keller, and four
The media coverage is so repetitive.
Institution at Pittsburgh last Wednesday. The 6 men.
The faces of the 6 inmates are all over the TV. And we feel the pressure to come up with something. We need an arrest.
They made this crystal meth stuff. I was like on Star Trek. I went into another dimension or something. I mean, that stuff crunched me. Everything was like going bad. It seemed like everybody was going nuts. I said, look, you know, take me to the bus station. You know what I mean? I'm rolling. I'm getting out of here. And that was the last thing I remember.
Now we're on day 6. I'd been working this since the 8th of January. I'm cooped up. I'm frustrated. I'm waiting for the break. And the break came in the way of a phone call. Hello? And it was quite simply put, they got Berkelbaugh. Where is he? Houston. My bags are packed. I'm ready to go.
The police are on the trail of 6 prison escapees when they get a major breakthrough.
Berkelbaugh showed up at the Greyhound bus terminal. An ambulance was called because he was on the floor of the terminal crawling around.
When I was getting to the bus station, my heart seized up, and the next thing I remember, I was in the hospital. I knew I was screwed. Well, it damn near killed me.
I needed to be the one to interview Thomas Berkelbaugh. I needed to crack the ice as to the other 5. Where are they? Are they still together? Are they in a vehicle? Are they crossing a border? Are we too late? We're close. We're close. But yet, there's Mexico. When I rounded the corner into the interview room and saw this drug-induced, scramble-brained Thomas Berkelbaugh, some of my hopes and dreams were wiped out.
Get some drug, partied. I don't know.
He was nonsensical.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So now you're...
After 3 hours and 10 minutes, I was frustrated. He wasn't speaking English. But he didn't speak of things in the individual.
We went...
It was we. We.
We went over to...
And that was a good sign. That gave us an edge because we were looking for the group of them and not 5 individuals like ants fleeing different routes.
Keller and me were driving along some back roads to pick up supplies when a cop car appeared ahead of us.
Straight ahead. Just look ahead.
This doesn't feel right.
It's all right. Just go by him.
We passed it.
Just trust me.
No dramas.
Would you just trust me on this? Just keep driving. It's fine. Don't go too fast. Just keep it under control.
Then the cop car pulled in behind us. The lights went on. Keller started panicking. I told him to pull over and stay calm. I'd do the talking.
Just relax. I got this covered.
Cop walked towards us. Keller, he lost his nerve. Just takes off. I remember thinking, great, now we're caught up in a high-speed car chase. We took a turn down a service road. saw it was a dead end. I grabbed the wheel to turn the car around. I could hear the cop's footsteps. Instinct kicked in. Before I knew it, I was out of there, running.
Get down now! Get down! Do it!
And I just ran for my life.
Authorities believe it won't be long before Pontes is captured.
Right now, the area that he's in here is about a square mile.
But it's not going to be very much that he's going to...
You got to be kidding me. Free promise. We got a pretty good perimeter
set up at this time.
Two down and 4 to go now. Carmen Keller's in cuffs. And in Carmen Keller, I saw pride. Even though he was in a jail cell, he was proud of what he accomplished. He was successful in his own mind. And you try to play on that. I told him what a celebrity he was back at the wall.
6 states. A lot of cops looking for you guys.
You know, we looked the part and everything like
that. I want to know, who's the associate? Who's conspiring with them?
He brought us the booze. Booze. Wow, we got drugs. Oh, man.
Who are they leaning on for money?
Yeah, Travis.
The name Travis comes up.
Travis have a last name?
Yeah.
Now things are starting to get interesting.
Yeah, just Travis. There's Travis.
Now we have something to give the locals and federal authorities that are working the case in Texas.
Yeah, good times.
The call came from one of the case agents up in Pennsylvania. The biggest lead came from Keller after he was interviewed, after his apprehension. Keller knew this person, Travis, was helping him and the rest of the fugitives, and he knew it was in a trailer, and it was on I-10 just outside of Houston. And he knew this white elephant sits on the property where the trailer was. We found the landmark, and we found this little trailer we were looking at, and there was a red Ford vehicle parked in front. So we're running the plate through our database, through our radio.
Sedan 24086M.
And we got a hit on the plate. It was a stolen vehicle.
Copy that.
That ratchets your emotions up a little bit. At the same time, Travis decides to leave the property, and he's going to drive that stolen vehicle. We're still on him, followed him. He didn't go very far at all. He went to the Pasadena motel. He's not paying any attention to us at all. So we stopped the car. I can see the guy get out. He's starting to go inside. And we made the decision, Mario, you need to go with him. We need to see if we can put this guy down in a room. He gets out. I go down a little bit farther in a position where I can see my partner because I need to cover him. He sees him go into the room. That's all he can see, though. He meets up with me. He says, room 129. Now your adrenaline is, racing a little bit. Now you don't know. This might be the big one.
Travis brought the rest of the fake papers. Now we had our IDs, we could go. In 5 hours, we'd be across the Mexican border and free. Nothing was going to stand in our way.
We need backup now. We need to know your ETA. We've got a possible escapee.
I don't think we were quite ready. I don't think you can tell my wife this, but we didn't have our vests on yet.
Room 129, possible escapee.
The next thing that happens is the door opens up. Billingsley and Heim that came out of the room. Maybe they heard the cars coming in the back. Maybe they saw police officers in the back of the hotel. They were acting like something was up. That's why your adrenaline is so high, because you don't know what's going to happen in the next 30 seconds. All bets were off. It's time to go ahead, place them under arrest. Now the guns come out.
Get down! Turn around! On your knees!
Right there, let's go.
I heard shouting, lots of car doors slamming. Grabbed my gun, headed for the door.
You have these two guys on the ground. Cuff them quick, do a quick search. But you still have a hotel room, and that door could open at any time. The rest of the people in that hotel room could be armed. They open the door and start firing, they're going to get the first shot off. The door opens up. And Pontes comes out. We're yelling at that point in time. Put your hands up.
Get on your knees. Sit now.
FBI, police, got you surrounded. And he was looking around. He could see there was several guns pointed at him.
On your knees. Do it. Down, get on the ground.
I noticed every single detail. My mind was racing, weighing up all the options.
On the ground. Put your hands up where we can see him. Down on the ground, let's go!
We were eyeball to eyeball, and it's almost like he came out and, let me see how many people are out there, see if maybe I can get a shot off.
I thought I could make something happen.
He wasn't putting his hands up. And that's the point in time when your finger goes from the side of your weapon to your actual trigger. The adrenaline was high before, now it's as high as me. Now you got your finger on the trigger.
Get on the ground now! On the ground now! Do it! On your knees, let's go! Get your hands where we can see.
I spotted so many guns.
Get down on the knee, let's go! Stop!
I wasn't a desperado. It was all over. This was the worst moment of my life.
Come on out, nice and easy. Pick him up.
Then it was, okay, we're just calling them out one by one. When you looked at what they had in the room.
Among many other unanswered questions, police want to know how the escaped convicts were able to get guns and money.
"30-year-old Nuno Pontes, identified as the mastermind of the escape plot."
Since the escape, I've been locked in a cell for 12 years, 24/7, with the possible exception of 1 hour, 5 days a week, when they might put me in a dog run, a small cage open to the air. The only reason that cop stopped us in Texas was because we weren't wearing seatbelts. If I'd been wearing a seatbelt that day, I'd be in Mexico right now, and not talking to you from prison.
And there's more Breakout next Monday at 10, when an inmate dubbed the modern-day Houdini may have met his match. Back to tonight, Christopher Lambert stars as a sword-swinging warrior comes up against his last worthy opponent. The fantasy adventure Highlander is our movie.